How's it going, wrestling fans? Remember us? It's the Wrestle Report with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
I'm Don.
It's been a while since we got one of these episodes in. The last time you heard from us, we were getting ready for the AEW Double or Nothing weekend that I was lucky enough to be a part of and was lucky enough to make a vlog about. So before we get anywhere on this episode, if you were one of the 6,000 people that watched that vlog, I just wanted to say thank you. And there's a potential here that some of you are seeing a live show for the first time, that you've seen the blog. Maybe you hit subscribe. Thank you for that as well. So you might have some new eyes on the program today. So I want to say welcome to the Wrestle Report. This is a more normal thing that we do. Me and my man Don over there talk about wrestling on a, I'll call it semi-weekly basis, basically whenever we have time. And I have not had a chance to talk about anything since doing the vlog. All my opinions of AEW weekend are kind of within that. So we're kind of going to, brush past that. But it's been about 2 weeks since we did an episode. Couple pay-per-views, couple network specials, and other things to talk about. So this episode's theme is going to be catch-up for sure. And I don't know exactly where to start here. I think a good place to be is ever since AEW had Double or Nothing due to the NBA playoffs, that has been, rather entertaining, by the way, unless you're cheering for the Sixers like I were, then it's just a pit of misery right now.
Or the Heat.
Or the Heat. But because of the NBA playoffs, Dynamite has not been at its normal time. It's quasi home now has been Fridays at 10 p.m. And I just want to say, I want to start here. I think this is a good topic. I hate this time slot, and it's not that the wrestling has gotten worse or anything, but I think AEW knows not to put an A show out because, like, by definition, they're getting half the viewers they would on the normal time slot. And I do applaud them for they're kind of giving other guys like more exposure and putting guys in like main event scenes than that you wouldn't if you were on your normal time slot. I think they have one more week of like Saturday. I think this coming week is going to be a Saturday show at 8 o'clock, which will probably do better views. I know I'll actually get to watch that one. And then they go back to Wednesdays. But the fact that this is happening is, very annoying. A lot of people, they're literally doing 500,000 people, which is just about half of what they would normally do on a Wednesday. So if anyone was wondering why AEW is moving to TBS, it's so stuff like this does not happen. They don't get bumped right after their biggest show of the year and lose, I got to admit, a good amount of momentum that they got out of what was an awesome weekend with a full capacity crowd and everything. Luckily, the positives of this is they are going to be touring soon again, and they'll be in front of, full stadium, not stadiums, but full crowds and stuff, and that'll be good. But this AEW 10 p.m. stuff sucks. I have not watched it live once since it's moved to this because it's just not in my wheelhouse to watch it at that point. I'm either doing something else already or, my schedule's kind of set for doing other things. But, I'll go back and watch it. But, I like to watch wrestling live when I can. Watching it on, like, when you get a chance to, it's just not the same effect. So I'm glad this is coming to an end. And I know they're doing the best they can in this situation. And I like that they're kind of pushing other guys. But this is not an ideal way to watch AEW.
Yeah, man, I was thinking the same thing because, like, you watch SmackDown and you're like, oh man, SmackDown was a great show, good show. Sure. Most 9 times out of 10, SmackDown was a good show, and then you gotta sit through another 2 hours. So you're looking at 12 o'clock ish. It's Friday night. You can stay up, but usually Friday nights is when you turn up. So it's like you're not even thinking about watching wrestling.
When we went to the weekend, the first stop on the trip was Dynamite starting at 10 p.m. And, like, I figured, like, man, this is going to be late. We're not really going to have, like, the energy once we're there for it to start at 8 o'clock. Or technically you went at 8 o'clock. They filmed a lot of dark matches. And then 10 p.m. was Dynamite. And really everything that I was thinking about that went out the window because everyone was just so happy to be there. And, like, in front of – they didn't go full crowd for Dynamite, but it was probably, like, 70% or whatever. So, really, those 2 hours flew by. And you could even tell, like, they put, like, Jungle Boy in the main event and stuff against, like, a heel that he could easily beat. Like, the show was very AEW Dark Elevation style. You could tell they were just putting guys in situations that they would normally put on their main TV show. But it was still fun, and I think the people that are going to these shows are still having a good time. And I go back and watch them, just not live, and they're good shows. But it's just not the same as, that 8 p.m. where – wrestling Twitter is like dead. Like normally you watch Dynamite, you can have your Twitter feed up, you're interacting with fans, talking about stuff you like, and then like there's even less of that because nobody's watching it live. I did see an article that like the DVR numbers for Dynamite are like off the charts over this time, and that should surprise nobody.
Yeah.
But due to this time where it's really thrown off my week too, because I usually, look forward to Wednesdays, and now there's nothing else, TV wise to watch or whatever. So I'm looking forward to, we got one Saturday show that should be good. They're going to kind of crank up again and then, move back to the normal time slot. So I'm looking forward to that. I will say, in this little drawback of no AEW during the week, I haven't watched more NXT, and I was incredibly entertained by the In Your House show from, I guess it was last week now. And I think this is a great place to start. This one really, before when they were doing In Your House shows, I felt that it was just a namesake that people were going to like, so they threw it in there. This actually felt like a In Your House from back in the day. I'm trying to pull the card back up again because I liked even the first match. Was it the 6-man tag with Bronson Reed and MSK in a 6-man defending against the Phantasmas or whatever, and like all the belts were on the line. I loved that concept. Obviously, like the chance of the title changing hands was pretty low, but I just love the fact that they, did something like that, and it just try something different, thinking outside the box sort of thing. And then, I love all the titles on the line type of thing. That was a great way to start that show.
Oh yeah, man, that was a banger of a match to start off. I love MSK. I love Bronson Reed, only that for big boys, And I love Santos Escobar and Phantasma, like the whole stable. Everyone in the match looks great. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the match looks great. I just I would say if I was nitpicking, I feel like Santos and Phantasma, the whole group, I think they didn't really deserve the match just because they've had all these title shots left and right, mm-hmm. and they lost all these matches. Yes, in the 6-man, a couple weeks back. Yeah, the 6-man a couple weeks back, they did beat Bronson Reed in them, but mm-hmm. I still think they should have like at least gathered some wins, beat some other teams, and Fantastic, or everyone just win matches before they actually get another title shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this was like a takeover, it would feel like out of place. But like the In Your House were always like basically house shows and live events that happen to be on TV. So like it made sense to do it for this, like a winner take all type of thing. And obviously, I didn't think they had any chance of winning. But I love that they came out with like the matching gear, like Bronson Reed had MSK, style gear. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But the other, to me, the real main event of this, where is the matches here? I'm still trying to find this here. Because the two main ones I want to talk about was that, and then of course the $1 million championship thing that they've decided to bring back. And the fact that when this first started happening, I didn't think like bringing back $1 Million Man. Like I didn't know how that was going to go. And they found the perfect person to make this work. I think if it was anybody else but LA Knight trying to pull this off, I don't think it would have worked, especially nobody else in NXT. Like if you tried to give it to like Johnny Gargano or something, it wouldn't have really worked. And I do think we'll eventually get to the point where there's actually rumors that Ted DiBiase Jr. is going to like make a return. And that's actually what they're setting up with all this. And he's been out of wrestling for, I want to say near 10 years now, 9 years or something. So that would definitely be something to see. But for now, the LA Knight thing with $1 Million Championship, that's going to bring me to watch NXT alone. I want to see what he does with that. He obviously turned on DiBiase right after he officially awarded him the belt, so he's solidified as the heel, of course, and I'm just really interested to see where this goes next.
Yeah, I think it's gonna end up turning into like a match with, again, a straight up match with LA Knight and Cameron Grimes, and I think that's how you actually. And I think they're gonna put the belt eventually on Cameron Grimes, and Ted DiBiase is gonna work with him.
I would like to see that, and then like I don't want to think too much into this Ted DiBiase Jr. thing coming back, but I could see like if Cameron Grimes, maybe gets another chance at it, and then it fails, and people think, oh, is that the end of that? And then maybe Cameron Grimes finds a way, like he's part of the story that brings Junior out of retirement to win his dad's belt back. I think that would also work out pretty well. I am struggling here, man. I'm trying to pull up these matches, and I did it a minute ago, and I don't see them. Oh, here we go. Finally. All right.
I got you. I remember all the matches now.
So really, aside from that, with this, there was 5 matches on the show, not counting the prelim or the kickoff show or whatever. We had the women's championship match that was very good. Ember Moon, again, perfect example, like you were saying, like maybe didn't deserve a championship match if you really thought about it, but you can throw it on a in your house type show because they're gonna have a good match. And if you, it's one of those, if you don't think about it too much, it works. So I will say I enjoyed, Ember Moon was a perfect situation to her to put that in. And then we had what was the other one? The Martinez match, right?
Yeah, Martinez versus Xia Li. I thought that was a good match, man. I ain't gonna lie. That was I like Xia Li. She's good.
Yeah.
And I like
short for my taste though. Like you're looking at it now, it was easily the shortest match on the show. It barely went like 8 minutes. It looks like here. Yeah, so that was. Oh, now I'm on the Hell in a Cell one. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Because we were gonna talk about that too. But yeah, it was just under 8 minutes, and it like as I'm watching it, I'm like maybe the other match before it was just so long that it felt short. But no, it was actually like a pretty short match. But no, I agree that one was definitely entertaining too. And then to really bring home that house show feel, you have like the Fatal 5-Way with just a bunch of people going crazy and carrying Cross like. There was like maybe a 10% chance he loses the belt just because there was so many people involved. There was just enough belief that you could be like, maybe they're going to switch it just to, mix it up or something like that. But no, I really look forward to that too. And Cross basically dominating the entire main event division in one match just solidifies how dominant he is. And really it's created the room, and it's not even a rumor anymore. So one quick question for you. Did you even know they still make the main event show on like regular WWE? Yeah. So apparently Cross had a match on main event tonight. He beat Shelton Benjamin. And then Bronson Reed also had a match on main event tonight. So they might be priming both of those guys to move up sooner than later. Maybe once crowds are back, it'd be a good time for it or whatever. But that's interesting to me because these guys are both finally getting like the championship runs that they've been, primed for. So like if they cut it short just to pull it to the main event, to the main roster, that's something we've seen way too many times, I think. And I hope they don't make that mistake with these guys when they're really catching fire at NXT now. You don't want to pull the rug out from under them too soon.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially if you don't have a plan for them, like we've seen so many other times.
Yeah, no, I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, so one other thing here, well, not one other thing, but the other pay-per-view that happened, this one went down Sunday on my birthday, actually. So as you can imagine, I had other shit going on. So I did not watch it. I did go back to watch some of this. Most un-Hell in the Cell feeling show ever. And like every year, we talked about it last year, I think at this time. If you have a Hell in the Cell every year and you have multiple of them every year, it doesn't feel as special. And we did have the interesting thing of they pushed the Rey Mysterio Roman Reigns Hell in the Cell match to the main event of SmackDown, which kudos to them. Actually, SmackDown did crack the 2 million viewer mark, so it clearly did work out. But I don't know if like Rey or Roman had like a cruise plan that they couldn't get the deposit, they couldn't work Sunday, and they had to bump it up to Friday. Like I want to know the real reason behind this because it couldn't have just been like for the hell of it to bump a SmackDown rating for no reason. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to figure out why, but I was very intrigued that this is happening.
Well, I also heard that Rey Mysterio had tweeted out that he couldn't wait till Sunday to get his hands on Raw.
Right.
And Roman's like, we can fight anytime, any place. And they booked the match for Friday. And like you said, they probably did it just to pop a rating.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos, they did it.
They did do it, and like that's that's clearly the storyline reason. But I'm like, I wonder what the true reason for it is. Yeah.
And you know what I thought? Well, I told you because we was at the game when we found out about it, and I was like, I think they're gonna probably just do like Dominic and Rey versus the Usos on a Hell in a Cell instead.
Yeah,
but that didn't happen.
No, it didn't. I do think we will get that maybe Money in the Bank or something, which. We're actually recording this as Raw's going on, and they are starting to like plug the spots for the Money in the Bank matches, both men's and women's. And apparently, the rumor, and to me, it's got to be pretty much true now that USA wasn't happy that Fox got a Hell in the Cell match. So tonight, in about maybe an hour or so, because we're getting an hour Raw here, Xavier Woods is facing Bobby Lashley in a Hell in the Cell match because apparently they're going to push Kofi Kingston and Bobby for the Money in the Bank main event. So it was the SmackDown one was the first Hell in the Cell match on regular TV in about 20 years. So it's now we're going to get – so now we'll have had 4 Hell in the Cell matches in 5 days. So talk about really, beating a dead horse. And obviously by next year, there'll be fans back, and if it'll feel better because it's been 2 years since fans have seen a Hell in the Cell match live. So that'll feel fine, I guess.
To be honest with you, man, I think they need to stop with the whole gimmick pay-per-views. I think they should move like Money in the Bank should go right back to at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Hell in a Cell should be. I would not have the pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell, and I'll just have like Armageddon. Armageddon was once a year, and they'll have the Hell in a Cell at Armageddon, like something like that. Just dedicate a pay-per-view to that match, and you only have one.
I think out of all the gimmicks, like TLC as a full-blown pay-per-view, don't like that. They peaked stupidity when they did Fatal 4-Way as the name of a show, and they walked back from that. The only one I think I don't mind as its own thing is Money in the Bank. I think I'm okay with that one, just because it really if you're not going to have King of the Ring anymore, it's almost like that. It's like the modern where it could stand on its own merit. Yeah,
when you say like that, yeah, you're right.
I mean, if they never took it off Mania, I don't think I ever would have been like, it needs to be its own thing. But the fact that they did it, it worked perfectly in the summer. It's because you got your Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, and then you got your WrestleMania to Money in the Bank, and then you got Money in the Bank to SummerSlam, and then SummerSlam to Survivor Series, and it really keeps the train moving, I feel. But yeah, none of these other gimmick ones. And I've said it before, TNA doesn't get a lot of stuff right, but the one thing they got right, one of the few things they got right back in the day, is they had the Lockdown pay-per-view where every match was in a cage. And I think that works perfectly because that is, we get, 20 cage matches a year maybe? Like, it's okay to overuse that stipulation. Yeah. So if they had come up with their own version of Lockdown, I think I'd be more inclined to do it instead of just like, it used to be a blood feud needed a Hell in the Cell. Now it's June, so we need, you guys to be mad at each other enough to have – and there's been some good ones to come out of the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view era, but there's been plenty that didn't require a Hell in the Cell match at all.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking at the other matches on this card. Cesaro and Seth Rollins was a good match. Of course, Seth has to get his win back from WrestleMania. Alexa Bliss defeated Shayna Baszler in a very quick match. And then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, which if you ever don't know what to do on a pay-per-view, you can throw those guys together and make for a good match. And Sami Zayn actually getting the win, and then Kevin Owens tweeted out that he's more or less taken some time off, which might be good for him because he's been one of the unsung heroes of the pandemic era. He had a lot, going, and I think he does deserve a little bit of time off probably before, SummerSlam rolls around and they can put him in a more prominent storyline again.
Yeah, I think they should at least hold him off until after Money in the Bank. Let him relax.
And then in the main event, we had Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre in the last chance Hell in the Cell match, which Bobby Lashley did in fact win. So at least for now, obviously WWE is really good at going back on things like this. But, Drew McIntyre is out of the title picture, at least for the time being, unless he gets moved to another show. But really does bring the question. It looks like we're getting Bobby and Kofi next. I don't know if Kofi's going to be the guy to slay him. And so that being said, I don't know who should go after Bobby next. And don't say Brock Lesnar because I don't want to see that shit. I wanted to see it like 15 years ago, but now, no, don't even care anymore.
Well, I mean, I'll be okay with it if Bobby was the champion. If it wasn't for the championship, I'll be fine with it, but not for the championship.
Well, and if they have to do it, Bobby needs to win. Then it needs to,
yeah.
So if you have to do it,
I don't think that's gonna happen, bro. Two straight losses for Brock Lesnar? Nah, bro. Nah. I mean, his last match was at WrestleMania.
He's the only guy we ever think of that way too. Like, he can't have 2 matches in a row. Everybody else does. You know, like if Drew McIntyre,
John Cena could do it. I feel like if John Cena could afford like a losing streak, Brock Lesnar can too. But Brock Lesnar ain't gonna have that.
And we might be seeing John Cena. I mean, we can't see him, but we might, he might be on a show here in the next little bit. He has mentioned that he does plan to make a return, I think, at some point by the end of this year.
What I'm hearing is he's gonna be back for that first show, the first crowd show.
Is that a for SmackDown? Okay.
Yeah, and I already see it. It's gonna happen. They're calling it. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be John Cena versus Roman Reigns.
We get a Monday Night Raw here in Orlando, August 9th. We might have to look into.
No,
I
don't know, man. Raw, that's a whole other animal, bro.
See, I agree with you because we are a SmackDown town. We always get SmackDown in Orlando, and Miami or Jacksonville or Tampa usually gets Raw. And because of that, I've actually never been to Raw, like ever. I've been to WrestleMania, been to SmackDown, been to Royal Rumble, been to Bound for Glory, been to Double or Nothing. Never been to a Monday Night Raw. So, like, for that one reason, I might have to try it out. But we'll see. I mean, we went to Raw virtually. We did do that. We went to Raw virtually. So.
If you're down, bro, I'll look into it too. I'll slide.
Might be an excuse to do another vlog too. You never know. So we can see. I do want to touch on, like I said, with AEW being on Fridays, it's kind of lulled my midweek wrestling thing. And another company that's definitely stepped up lately, perfect time to jump in here, National Wrestling Alliance with the NWA Minute here. The first couple shows, with no crowd for them, I was happy they were back, but there was definitely some staleness to the show as they were really – because they basically had to create new storylines from nothing. And they had a lot going on. They had, Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll that was supposed to happen at the Crockett Cup. All that went away. And they were lucky enough to announce now they're coming up on their 73rd anniversary show. The NWA is 73 years old as a company, which is crazy. And it's going to be live from St. Louis. They're going to do a pay-per-view here. I think it's in September. I'll have to look at it again, but it's coming up soon. And I sent this to Donovan, too. I was pretty happy. They're starting to get a lot of fresh faces to show up in the company, including JTG, who's now in the NWA, which was really great to see. Basically, they had he's Jack. You wouldn't even recognize him if you only knew him from like WWE days. But they had a battle royal for the who's gonna face Nick Aldis, and you couldn't be a champion in the battle royal. So Chris Adonis, the former Chris Masters, vacated the national championship to be in the battle royal. So with that title being vacant, they're having a series of matches to see who's going to be the new national champion. And JTG has won his way into that title match. Who he's facing yet, we don't know. And they also have a new character just called the Masked Wrestler right now. He's got a very generic mask, and my fingers is crossed that it's Joe Henning, Curtis Axel, because he's got a similar build to this guy. Supposedly we're going to find out who he is tomorrow on Power, so I am looking forward to that. And then, of course, Camille won the NWA Women's Championship, which has been a long time coming. She had a great match with Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. She defended the title already once. So, she's been primed to be the next, big star in the women's division in the NWA, and that's finally happened. So, a lot of big things coming. I think they're finally getting back in their groove, and I am super excited to see what JTG does moving forward. I've never seen him more focused, and he just looks like a star now, and I'm really hoping he wins that title whenever it comes to that.
Oh, yeah, me too. I loved Crime Time back in the day, and I think it'll be great for him, especially what happened last year and stuff. It'll be a good turnaround for him.
I agree. It's going to be a great, comeback story and whatnot if it comes. And even if it's not then, you can just see that he's going to have plenty of things to come back around and just be like a well-known guy, not just on the indies, but even if he shows up in an Impact or a Ring of Honor off of this, stint in the NWA, I think it's going to be great because he's someone that's fans have always really liked and they've wanted to see him do more. And same with Shad, even when they left WWE, they could have been more in other companies. It just wasn't in the cards for them at the time. So now, no time like the present for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So before we get out of here tonight, guys, the one other thing I want to talk about, I'll have to walk Donovan through this a little bit because he's a little behind on the Hidden Treasures episodes. They had one with Andre the Giant, and then they had one with Ric Flair also. Before we get to that, are you caught up on Dark Side of the Ring by chance?
I'm finished.
Okay, so you watched the Grizzly Smith episode, right?
Yeah.
So I guess we can start there too, because that was something else that I had known a little bit about that story. For those that have seen the Beyond the Mat, the old, thing, one of the, inside the wrestling things from back in the day that came out, they touch on it a little bit because they followed Jake Roberts around for a little bit in that. And he kind of like tells the story in like 30 seconds and you don't even have time to comprehend what he really said. And then you learn more. And this, I'll say another thing. I did not know. I knew who Grizzly Smith was, and obviously everyone knows Jake Roberts. I had no idea he had siblings that were also in the wrestling business. That came as a shock to me. I had no idea. His sister was the one that blew my, because the other brother, only lasted a little while. So it's like, all right, I could see that being the case. Definitely a crazy way to end the first half of season 3. They come back in a few months to resume, including like the steroid trial and was it the plane ride from hell?
They're going to talk about Chris Canty in that one too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's it was a good one to end on. It probably was the darkest one for a show called The Dark Side of the Ring. I say this about a lot of them. A lot of them I say it was difficult to watch in a good way. I don't know if this one was in a good way, obviously, due to the nature of it, but like it definitely shedded light on someone that maybe that part of their life needed to be shown. So if you're going to talk about this person, you need to know the whole story, basically, if this gets talked about now. And Jake Roberts seems in a space in his life now that he is comfortable talking about it again. So that's probably good that he can get all this out the way that he's kind of like the clearest he's ever been. But it was difficult, but a great job, by them. And the next thing I have to hunt down, because I don't have Vice, I'll have to find it. Apparently they released a China documentary.
Yeah, they did. I didn't get to see it either, but that came out on Thursday. It's not part of Dark Side. It's a whole different thing.
Right, but it's just airing on Vice. It's not the same crew or anything.
Yeah.
So by next episode, where I think that's our homework, we both need to watch that, and we'll be able to report on that next one. And I do just want to touch on the Hidden Treasures episodes because Donovan does need to catch up on these. The Andre the Giant one was good. So normally these shows are an hour. So when you watch them, not live, they're 45 minutes. And I start watching this thing and I'm loving every minute of it. But then I'm like, how is this not over yet? And then I check the time and it's a 2-hour episode because they really have to go everywhere. And one of the craziest things is of all these artifacts, we'll call them, that people are finding in wrestling in this show, the one thing that one of the main things they're looking for Andre is his passport. Just because his ridiculous travel schedule, he'd go to Japan and then Germany and then Paris and then United States, and then he'd go back. And they end up finding 3 or 4 different passports through the various connections, and they end up getting one back. The other main real thing they're looking for, when he was in Japan, he had a short run gimmick just known as the Super Strong Machine, and he wore this mask over in Japan when he'd wrestle. And Sonny Ono ended up with it, the old Japanese manager from WCW. He would manage Ultimo Dragon and all that stuff. I always liked him as a kid. He was always like a funny man. He was like, the Mr. Fuji of WCW kind of was his role.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy
wasn't he in Dark Side of the Ring on for the Korea? Yeah,
so he popped in the Korea one, yes. But so this guy is a dick, we learn in this, because he brings AJ and Big Show and Mark Henry out. Those are the 3 guys hunting for the Andre stuff. And he shows them the mask just to tell them that he's putting it online for an auction. Like, he had them fly all the way out there just to say that he's doing an online auction for it. And they don't end up getting that mask, and they think they find a way to get another one from a different, basically in his hometown in France. They have a small Andre museum in this little known town that people don't know about, and they work out a deal with that museum to get the mask and a few other things. But the Sonny Ono heel turn was crazy for it. And the other great thing, and I say this in a way that I don't want to make it seem like I'm making fun of the guy. 1, he would kill me, and 2, he's one of my favorite wrestlers ever, so I'm not trying to make fun of him. Mark Henry cries like 5 times in this episode because he loves Andre the Giant so much. He has a lot, he gives him credit for, if I didn't see a dude that big doing this, I would never have thought I could do it, kind of a thing. So every time they find something of value, Mark just can't take it. He just does this and leaves the room. Like it's really crazy to watch how emotional he gets. And Big Show, like every time they're in a new place and he does that, whoever they're speaking with is like, "Oh, is he okay?" And Big Show's like, "Yeah, don't mind him. Like he'll be fine." But he literally breaks down and cries, I think, 5 different times in this episode. And it's powerful.
That's crazy how there's 2 AEW guys that's on that show.
Oh, yeah. It was all over that episode. And then I'll leave it there because I do recommend, if you haven't watched it, to go check it out, both for Don and anybody watching or listening. The one that aired last night, which I watched this morning, was the Ric Flair one. And personally, like, we all love Ric Flair, but I'm like, what really do we need from Flair that we don't have? Because like their family is very much like, you'd think he'd have everything that he owns. And I guess the main thing they were looking for, they were calling it the butterfly robe. And it's the one he debuted at the Royal Rumble in when he won the WWF Championship when it was vacant in 92. And apparently nobody had seen this robe in about 25 years. And the other robe that they were able to come across was Little Nate had Charles Robinson, the referee. And it's the one where he debuted the big gold belt, the one behind me here, other arm. There you go. And they were able to find that robe. They end up trading that and a pair of boots to this guy, plus $60,000 for the black butterfly robe. And to me, like, just as I'm watching it, like, the robe that he wears when he debuts the big gold belt, that's got to be just as significant as the one he wears to the Royal Rumble and wins the WWF title to me. Like, if anything, the other one's more significant because you're debuting a belt, you know? Like, it's basically, and it's funny that I have both the belts there. It's when the NWA transitioned from the version you see behind me to the big gold. And, you know, the videos on YouTube where he's got the belt, or he's got the robe tight, and he undoes it and he unveils the big gold for the first time. And to me, that would be, if nothing else, they should be pretty much even in value. But they throw in boots and $60,000 to get this other robe, which is crazy to me.
Oh, yeah. Man, make a check. He made a big ass check.
And it's funny the way they basically figure out that. Long story short, Ric Flair lost it in a hotel, and the hotel manager has had it ever since. Like the guy that owns the hotel where he lost this robe.
Oh wow!
Because they wrestled in it was like Johnson City, Tennessee, and the hotel manager owner guy that has it was in Tennessee, so it never left the state. So.
Oh wow!
Because you learn this due to Ric Flair's like partying, he was notorious for losing shit, obviously. And basically the only thing he never lost would be the title belt. Like he'd lose everything else, but he'd always know where the title belt was.
Well, yeah, that's good for him.
And he said they'd find pairs of dress pants and they'd the maids would grab them and they'd like find Rolexes in the pockets and shit and just like, get paid and stuff off of that. But I mean the items aside, these 2 episodes, I don't know if this is the end of the season for them too, but the Andre the Giant is like the best 2 hours of wrestling related content I've seen, I think, all year. Like I'm going to watch it again probably now that I know what I'm getting into. And so hopefully we'll talk about the China thing next week, but if you get some time to watch either of these, definitely would love to get your opinion on it moving forward. But just great stuff put together. But I'll bash WWE when they do something wrong, but to put something like this together, I thought was just incredible. Like the first couple episodes seemed a little fabricated, like, oh, we've never seen this thing, and they make one phone call and they find it. These actually, you could see the struggles and then not getting every item that they want from everybody. And I think you need more of that to make the show entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So just great stuff by them, and it's good to be back, guys. But I think we're going to wrap it up for the day for episode 30. We will see you guys next week as we catch up.
Episode 30.
Episode 30. So we'll see you guys next week. We'll be able to talk about this Hell in a Cell match that supposedly is happening on Raw here pretty soon, and we'll be getting in some Money in the Bank talk. So we'll see you next time.